Shalom everybody and welcome back after a long recess in this discourse, Likutey Halakhot, section Orach, Chaim, the laws of Nefilat Apayim, the laws of falling on one's face after the Shmoneh Esrei prayer of Shacharit and Mincha. Discourse number 4, paragraph 19. We left off where Rav Nosson is going into the 4 Parshiot, the 2 before Purim and the 2 after Purim, as a preparation for Pesach. We're holding by Parshat Parah, which is a result of the Simcha of Purim. Through the Simcha of Purim, one comes to the acceptance, the belief, the emunah in the concept of the Parah Aduma. The Parah Aduma, Rav Nosson is going to say here, is a contradiction. It doesn't make sense. That it makes pure the impure and it makes pure the impure. The Kohanim involved in the preparation of the ashes of the red heifer became impure. The one who sprinkles became impure, but the one who gets sprinkled upon, he becomes pure. And this in itself is something which can't be understood, because it's all like separate things. It's the same idea, the same matter. The ashes of the red heifer, they make one person impure and one person pure. If you go delve into this, Rav Nosson is emphasizing, it's impossible to understand. If it's separate items, I can understand, but the same item for this guy makes him impure and this guy makes him pure, this is beyond comprehension. And this is what we reach to attain, to accept after Purim. Through the joy of Purim, this purification comes upon a person where he perceives that he doesn't understand. This concept, Rabbi Nachman quotes a lot in his books, from a quotation from a book called Bechinot Olam. And he quotes it also in lesson 24, Likutey Moharan, Tachlit ha'yediyah asher lo neda. The goal of knowing is not to know. That's the goal. The goal of knowledge is to know that you don't know. It's like knowledge is knowing, but not knowing. And it's two opposites. By a person who's philosophical and atheistic and he likes to probe, skeptics, they like to probe everything and question everything. When they see this contradiction, so automatically they jump and disbelieve. But by the Jewish person, this is where emunah takes place. And Rav Nosson is showing that this is the gift of Shabbat Parah. This is the gift of the Simcha of Purim. That you accept that you don't understand everything happening in life, and you can accept it. The only way you can accept it is of emunah. And this emunah of acceptance is a result of Purim. And this emunah of acceptance is the preparation to receive the festival of Pesach, the purification of Pesach, and the light and the redemption of Pesach is through this level of joy, of exception, of emunah, of Parah Aduma. Now let's see this inside the text. We're in the second paragraph in section 19 of this discourse, okay? So now explains Rav Nosson more details of that. First of all, the red heifer ashes was used for what? To purify from contact of impurity of a dead corpse. We don't have this today because we're all impure. Until the third temple comes back and the red heifer comes back, we're all in a state of impurity. Everything we do is in the state of tumat met. We're impure to death, okay? But still, you have levels. In other words, there's the basic impurity, but you have tzaddikim who so purify themselves that when they die, there's no rotting on their corpses. They stay intact. Because Rav Nosson wants to show that the process of a body decomposing is due to the impurity found in that person's body, due to his actions in his lifetime. However, there are tzaddikim, they so purified their physical conduct, they were so in line with Hashem that the decomposition, which is considered a negative thing, a drawback, doesn't rest and rule upon them. They're above these laws of nature. Okay? So Nosson wants to show us something very deep. That where does this come from? Where does now the impurity of death come from? And how can it be rectified? Valken. So therefore, the mitzvah of Parah Aduma metaret mitumat met. Therefore, of all these introductory ideas that he mentioned earlier, that we just went through a little bit, the ashes of the mitzvah of the red heifer, its mission is to purify from the impurity of death. And he explains now. Ki Parshat Parah, the whole Parsha of Parah, is in the category of Hibechinad, what it says in Kohelet, what King Solomon said about himself. This verse is in Kohelet chapter 7, verse 23. And this verse is used in context to the Paraduma, that King Solomon probed into every detail of the Torah, but when he came to the Chok, the statute of the Paraduma, he said the following, which is quoted in the verse from Kohelet, Amarti echkema ve'rechoka mimeni. I said to myself, echkema, I will become wise in this matter of the Paraduma, to understand how could it be that on one hand it can make impure those who are pure already, and make pure those who are impure. And it's beyond me. It's far from me to grasp. I cannot grasp how one item can one hand make pure, another hand make impure, simultaneously. The Kohen who's sprinkling, he sprinkles, it becomes impure. The one who's getting sprinkled upon, he becomes pure. It doesn't make sense. Two opposites in the same action, same activity, the same time, the same item. Okay? Kihi, because what is the idea of the red heifer? Like we said, he mitaret tmeim umitamet teorim. Its mission is to make pure those who are impure, and to make impure those who are pure. By the way, just to go back to the laws of the Praduma, the Kohen who would sprinkle, he wouldn't be impure like a severe impurity. He would be impure until the night. At nightfall, he would have to go to the mikveh, and then after nightfall, he would be considered pure. But that day caused him to be, he had impurity by sprinkling the ashes of the heifer, and also those who were involved in preparing it also, they became impure temporarily. But the fact that it can make them impure, what's going on? They're doing something holy. They're involving themselves with something which is able to make pure someone who's impure from death, and yet him it makes impure. What's going on? That's beyond rational. That's two opposites in one item. This, in lesson 24, is the concept of the keter, that a person is running to perceive, and at the same time he cannot perceive. It's in and out, and this in and out is simultaneous at the same time, in and out, and because of that, a person is befuddled, bewildered. It's above their knowledge, and this dafka is the key to perceive the infinite light in life. These contradictions that a person goes through, that he's baffled, that he's taken by surprise, unexpected, and he can't absorb and understand what's happening. That's when Hashem fills that person with the infinite light awareness. It comes unexpected, and it comes when the person's da'at is not there. That's the idea of the paraduma. It's amazing what he's saying here, Rav Nosson. Ki mitaret tmeim umitamet teorim. Shezeh, Rav Nosson puts his foot down with such surety. Shezeh bevadai אי אפשר להשיג ולהבין בשום דעת אנושי כלל. That this, something that can make pure impure and impure pure, the same item, the same time, this definitely is something that cannot be perceived and understood in any human comprehension and human mind capacity at all. You can't understand it. Try to give ideas, there's always questions on it. You try to give some answer, it doesn't work. The same item makes one pure and one impure. It doesn't make sense. Okay? There's no way to understand it with human comprehension. And specifically that mode of comprehension where you don't understand what's going on. This specifically, acceptance of this, in other words, is what purifies from the impurity of death. Because he explains now. שעיקר הטומאה היא בחינת חקירת המחקרים והכופרים שהם סיטרא דמותא. The main power, the main essence of the impurity of death, it's considered spiritual. In other words, the physical death, there's a physical death, okay. But the impurity generated from that physical death is something of a spiritual nature. The essence of the impurity of death, in other words, what makes it impure, okay, because we said tzaddikim, when they die, they're considered alive. That's why many rabbis hold that Kohanim can go to the graves of certain tzaddikim, like the Kever Rachel or Mat Machpelah in Hebron, our forefathers. Some even allow Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, that Kohanim can go in and not be made impure, because the tzaddikim, even though they passed on, they don't have this impurity. The impurity of death they don't have. Death they experience. They're no longer eating and moving and talking. They're dead. They're silent. They're like in a deep sleep. The body ceases to function. But of these special tzaddikim, their bodies don't rot, number one. Number two, there's no impurity. Where does the impurity of death come from? The impurity of death, Rav Nosson is saying here, comes from a spiritual dimension. It comes from the mode of thinking, God forbid, of skeptics and atheists who are from the side of death. As soon as a skeptic or a philosopher, he makes a conclusion that there is chas v'shalom, no God, there's no spirituality involved, so he separates himself from the source of purity. By thinking that way, by accepting that mode of thinking, letting his mind open up to that direction, that dimension, he actually is opening up himself to the domain of impurity, because he's cut himself off from accepting God's existence and God's presence. Excuse me. Okay? That itself causes impurity. And what level of this impurity? The worst one, death. The impurity of death is activated by a person who allows his mind to enter the domain of atheism and skepticism. He is in the mode of death. He is death impurity. Okay? The impurity experienced by people at death is equivalent to this person now who allows his mind to enter that domain. He's now sitra demota, the Zohar says. That's the wording, sitra demota, the side of death. Kihem ikar zomata nachash. Because who brought upon death to the world? The pollution of the snake causing the domino effect on Chava and Adam, brought death into the world. And what was the whole filth of the nachash? That was able to convince Adam and Chava otherwise, instead of serving Hashem, to deny Hashem's command. To deny Hashem's command is to deny belief in Hashem. If Hashem ordered ABC and you're not doing ABC, so that in a sense is an atheism. You don't accept Hashem. Why don't you accept Hashem? Because you lack belief in Him, in His power. You may believe He exists, but partial chas v'shalom, which was what the snake was trying to convince. Like Rashi says, He created worlds and He doesn't want you to create worlds like Him also. What is this? He's the creator. And saying, no, He created worlds. This way of thinking that the Nachash convinced Chava, like Rashi says, that way of thinking, and she accepted to listen and then be fooled into believing, that's impurity already. It's called the pollution, of the primordial snake, and he brought death into the world. So this is Rav Nosson's connector. The fact that the snake, with his wrong way of thinking in convincing Adam and Chava, and thus lacking a belief in Hashem, and that brought about death to the world. So we say now the impurity of death is this. This equals this now. Okay? It's called Zomat HaNachash, because that's what it comes from, the impurity of the snake. As mentioned earlier, we did mention this earlier in the discourse. V'al ken, so now therefore, based on all this, alidei mitzvat parah, through the mitzvah of the ashes of the red heifer, the cow, shebechinat chukat Torah, which is, it's called the chok, in Parshat Chukat, deals, in the book of Dvarim, deals mainly with it opens up with the laws of the paraduma, and it calls it a chok. A chok is a statute that there's no rationale. The king ordered for this to happen, no questions, no understanding. Okay? So he says, the para, which is in the category of chukat Torah, the statutes of the Torah that make no sense, it's just the order of the king and he expects you to follow suit. Okay? Shemegalet lanu shaTorah hi bechinat chukah, which this law of the Torah of red heifer, which is definitely a chok, comes to show us on all of the other rest of the 612 mitzvot, that even though the Torah gives understanding in them, gives a reason, ultimately they're also a chok, and Hashem expects you to do it out of emunah, and not out of understanding. He expects you eventually. Initially we teach a child, we explain things, fine. But there's a point where Hashem wants you to serve Him out of chok. That because you believe in Hashem, no questions, no understanding, you choose to bypass the understanding and serve Hashem out of complete emunah and acting and really believing like you don't understand anything. And you throw yourself into that. So you're treating the Torah in the category of a chok, and now that's really a high level. That you're doing all the mitzvot. So that the Torah calls the red heifer a chok, and then expects all the other mitzvot to be compared to that mitzvah, the ones that are understandable, and yet the Torah calls them also a chok due to this one. So that means the Hashem expects you eventually to do all the 613 mitzvot out of chok, out of emunah, out of not understanding. Even when you understand, you say, but who knows what's beyond that? Who says, I've completely mastered, I studied the Rambam, I studied Sefer Chinuch, so I know all the mitzvot, I know all the details. The mitzvah is eternal. It's endless, it's infinite. It's connected to the infinite one and the infinite light, so therefore it's also infinite. As many reasons as given, you keep on going to the maximum, you discover a new question that you didn't answer, you didn't figure out yet in the understanding of the mitzvah. And then you figure that out. Beyond that, there's something else beyond. And you have always to turn to emunah. You have to. So Hashem expects you to maximize your experience in connecting to God, to serve Him out of chok. You can learn Torah all day, learn, understand, absorb, but all that is being put into the cup of emunah. That's what Hashem expects. That all the dot is in emunah, and all of your learning is just to enhance stronger emunah, a higher level of emunah. You learn more, so now what happened now? Emunah is pushed up to a higher level. You learn now that level, you push up the emunah to a higher level. Okay, that's how it is. Here by the parah, in the opening of the mitzvah already, there's no understanding. And Hashem expects you to learn all the Torah in that attitude, to accept and perform all the Torah in the attitude of the chok. Okay, let's go back. ועל כן, על ידי מצוות פרה שבחינת חוקת התורה שמגלית לנו שהתורה היא בחינת חוקה, that the Torah, because זאת חוקת התורה. So the commentaries explain that all the Torah is called a chok, not just that it opens up the mitzvah of Parah Aduma and Parshat Chukat, and it says Zot Chukat HaTorah. This is the chok of the Torah, and it goes on to talk about one of the mitzvah, the red heifer, but it used the word of as if to say in general, these are the statutes of the Torah, as if to say all the Torah is a chok. That's why he's using that wording. So that's how they learn that this applies to all the Torah, even those mitzvah that you understand. Okay? שמגלת לנו שהתורה היא בחינת חוקה, בחינת אמרתי אחכמה, והיא רחוקה ממני, רחוקה, that these mitzvot of chok are in the category of what King Solomon said, I said to absorb wisdom, and I see that it's far from me. V'hi rechoka, and doesn't just apply now to red heifer, applies to all the mitzvot. You treat them in the category of chok, that you just do them out of emunah, even though there's some understanding, but you choose to go in the pathway of emunah. Bechinat chuka chakakti, but going back to the paraduma, it's chuka chakakti. Hashem says, I made a statute. I made laws also that you can't understand, and you're expected to accept them out of faith, out of no brain, out of emunah. Okay? Gzera gazarti, again he's quoting the sages, the wording of sages. Gzera gaz. Hashem said, Chuka chakakti, gzera gazarti. This is the quote where Rashi brings also. I made a statute, I made a decree. You have no permission now to have questions about it. You have to demonstrate your emunah. Hashem gives you opening in life to understand. Once you understand, He opens the doors for you. Then Hashem expects more from you. Now I'm going to give you a test where you don't understand. Okay? By the skeptics and atheists, where it's always understanding, and being detached from emunah. So this is where they get stuck. Whereas the test of a Jew is now we'll see who are you really dedicated to. Are you still dedicated to me when there's no understanding, or you drop it like a skeptic? Chas v'shalom. And he says, you have no permission, because if you do that, then you're transgressing. You're going against and you're going to lose. Right? So now, so he's saying, Rav Nosson, this acceptance of this attitude, this itself purifies a person from the impurity of death. Through this, we get the purification from death. And that's the gift of Purim. That's Parah that comes after Purim. You are now purified from the impurity of death, which is this atheism, and skepticism, which is the impurity of death. By you accepting with faith the chok of the Torah, without understanding, you bypass understanding, and you believe everything is just emunah, especially when you don't understand, for sure you throw yourself in emunah. This itself allows a person to remove from himself the side of death. The impurity of death that's on a person is removed commensurate to how much he has this level of emunah. But in this discourse of Nosson showing, for this to happen, you need the simcha of Purim. The gift, the byproduct of the simcha of Purim is that it allows you to have the purification of the Parah Aduma, which is this purification. No questions. I believe this emunah is a result of Purim. Fascinating how Nosson is explaining it. With such a level of simcha, the simcha allows you to tap into such a high level of faith in Hashem. No questions. No questions, Hashem, you're running the world. I don't have any questions. I don't have to understand anything. I'm all yours. This is the gift of Purim. That's what Parah comes. And then this attitude allows you to taste and experience the Pesach experience fully at a high level. Because now you've removed the impurity of death, which is this skeptic, atheistic way of thinking in life. You've removed it thanks to the joy of Purim. So now you're ready to have the permission to experience the Korban Pesach, the light of redemption of the Pesach. Such a connection to God, a bliss of an opening experience of the infinite light coming to you, okay? It's phenomenal what he's saying here. This is all a result of Purim, okay? Purim comes to Parah, and this prepares us for the month of Nisan. Because just like in the Korban Pesach, it says, an arel, a man who doesn't have a circumcision, can't eat from the Korban Pesach. And also, the commentary says, also mean the Jew is also who separate himself from the ways of the Torah. He's an arel also. He's blocked up. He's clogged up in his emunah. He's not allowed to partake from the Korban Pesach. Okay, meaning you need a prerequisite to experience the gift of that light of the freedom of the Korban Pesach. You need to be freed from the impurity of death, which is attaining the attitude of the Parah Aduma, that you accept. Making pure, impure, pure, impure, I don't understand, but I accept it. Okay? That's a gift of Purim. The skeptics who don't have Purim, they don't have Parah Aduma, they don't have Pesach. Okay? אין לך ראשונה לאחריה. על ידי זה ניתן דמות ומתמת, כי על ידי זה נתבטל סיטרא דמותא. על ידי שמאמינים בהשם יתברך, like we said, all this is true, that we believe in Hashem, blessed be He, ובמצוותיו, we believe in His mitzvot, ואין חוקרין אחר שום טעם כלל, and we don't seek to investigate, חוקר, to investigate the matter after any reason. Why this, why that. You have these people, very secular, they want to understand everything, and then they'll consider following. Bye-bye, we don't need you. If you don't start with the fundamental stage of emunah, Torah is not for you. You want to take a course in Torah 101, get out of here. It's not for you. We're not going to teach you Torah. If you're just an intellectual skeptic, want to rationalize and know like a field, just like you have biology, geometry, and anthology, and astrology, and then you have Torah. I'm sorry, that's not the Torah. The Torah can only be read with the 3D glasses of emunah. If you have the 3D glass of emunah, you're allowed to enter the world of the Torah. If you don't have initial stage of emunah, sorry. It's like Rabbi Nachman says many times, Rav Nosson said that Rabbi Nachman said many times, how fortunate are we that Moshe Rabbeinu started the Torah just already going into the creation of the world by God. No questions. No, and there was a God and this and that. No. Right when in the beginning of the beginning point of the creation of the world. And Rabbi Nachman says how fortunate we have that Moshe Rabbeinu started the Torah like that. Bereshit, opening. The child, no questions. We tell them, there's a God, okay, created the world. No, and who is God in this? Nothing. Go right into it. That's emunah. And anyone coming to learn Torah, if they don't have emunah, so we don't teach them. Sorry. You don't have emunah, this is not for you. Go study the world, go study nature, go study how deers mate and everything. go study that stuff. Go. It's not for you, the Torah. Okay? And you're trying to be an atheistic attitude, intellectual. Torah is not for you, and for sure Breslev is not for you. Breslev, Rabbi Nachman's teachings, is only for people who have a modicum beginning point of emunah, and they show it. I do believe. They show submission, right? This is, by the way, another idea why Rabbi Nachman says it's such a big thing that a person travels to a tzaddik. Even someone who is a wicked, the fact that he travels to tzaddikim shows a type of submission and emunah, because if not, he wouldn't travel. Even if he has side issues, I just want to experience it and everything, the fact that he accepts to do it, and it's not easy to travel to tzaddikim, is what's called tiltulim. There's a schlep, it's difficult and everything, and that a person who wants to experience is going to go through that shows that he has a modicum of faith. Okay? So going back, we don't try to at all investigate the meaning behind it. We just do things out of emunah, and then Hashem fills our cup with emunah, of understanding, but it's in the cup of faith that we have already, that we're showing that we express that we have. Rather, we just do the mitzvot out of the attitude of a chok, statute. You can understand it. Chuka chakakti gzera gazarti ve'en lecha reshut leharer acharei. The quotation Rav Nosson brought earlier from the sages, from Rashi. I made a decree, I made a statute, you're not allowed to question it. So when we accept the whole Torah like that, even the mitzvahs that are given an explanation, like tefillin and tzitzit and matzah and Pesach and Yom Kippur, okay, and tzedakah and loving your neighbor as yourself, and it makes sense. There's understanding behind it. Yet we tell Hashem, I accept as a chok. This is a high level. This is the gift of Purim. The result of Purim is that we attain this high level of emunah, which is reflected in Shabbat Parah, which is why Parah, Rav Nosson is saying here, comes after Purim. B'ezrat Hashem will continue in the next class. If you have any questions on what we said in this class, you can contact me by WhatsApp only, a voice message or a private message only, +1 732 800 1863. Once again, +1, it's an American number, 732 800 1863. Shalom, shalom.